So anybody who has tuned in a little early, we will be starting momentarily. Okay, let's get a slow start here, and then we'll get a faster start in a minute with our other panelists join in. I see some familiar faces that have tuned in already as participants, and awful lot of people registered to get the replay, and that's fine too. So welcome. If you're watching this on the recording or live stream somewhere else as well. We are will be joined momentarily by Grandmaster Jeff Smith and perhaps by Master Greg Moody as well. And I see Bob Dunn, so I'm going to promote him to panelists. So there we go. We should be, Bob, you should be bumping up here as a panelist as well here. So there you go. We have, I'll introduce Bob Dunn. He's been working with martial arts schools now for I don't know, what's it been, Bob? 18 years, some ridiculous length of time.
Pushing, quite around that time, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Long time. I stopped counting a few years back.
Yeah, probably a good idea. I know that that you and I have been working together for at least 15 of those years.
Absolutely.
So long time. And hey, Bob, our topic here is, and we'll see if Master Smith and Master Moody figure out how to log in here. But our topic, of course, is how to have November and December be your best months of the year. And there's Master Smith, and you might want to change your name there, Master Smith, to you, not me. I can do that for you.
And you're muted.
And you're muted.
Okay.
There you go. You are now renamed, officially renamed.
Okay.
So welcome after your travails this morning of getting the passports and the driver's license renewed, since you like to travel the country, if not the world.
Which means that I don't have it renewed yet. I still have to go back and do it now.
Okay. And I'm promoting the panelist also, Greg Moody here. But anyway, so on our topic here, we are on how to make November and December your best months of the year. Welcome, Master Moody. You might, we can rename you as well rather than as Greg Test Link, one thing or another.
That's weird. I do not know why I'm that way. I'll rename it.
I just did. You are now Senior Master Greg Moody.
Okay, except it's Chief Master, but okay, I'll fix it.
Oh well, sorry. I'm late to the game.
You're late. You gotta
Late to the game. There you go. Chief Master. Okay.
fix it.
Fair enough. All these martial arts
It
titles.
actually says CH Moody.
There you go.
There you go. Very well done. Okay. But our topic is how to make November and December be your best months ever. Hey guys, let's start with one is kind of the industry perspective. And of course, I'm speaking of the industry as if there is such a thing. But the general mood of most martial arts school owners, and certainly smaller martial arts school owners, tend to be that December is a slow month, and perhaps even November and December are slow months. I think oftentimes there's an expectation that November on until January are slow periods of time. And Master Smith, you disabused me of that in I don't know, aging us both here, aging you more than me, but what would it be now? Late 70s, early 80s? Your comment way back then was you take whatever month that everybody thinks is the worst month of the year and you make it your best month of the year. And we saw the same thing this summer with July and August. We keep talking with school owners who are not members who talk about how slow their July and August were. And of course, we had some of the busiest months of the year for ourselves and for our members. But your premise was take December, which people think is slow, and make it the #1 month of the year. And let's kind of start with the groundwork of what we're not talking about. I see a lot of folks who try to make December be a big month of the year. I see two things that happen that I have zero interest in, that they try to create cash. One is the summer camp type of event that happens over Thanksgiving week, and then the summer camp type of event that happens from Christmas to New Year's, and they run a big daycare karate camp during the holiday period because the kids are out of school. And that is not what I'm talking about. The other thing I'm not talking about is gearing up for Black Friday and spending Thanksgiving weekend with stacks and stacks of retail, or passing out catalogs and taking orders and selling retail. So do you guys want to address those two concepts briefly before we move on and talk about what we certainly like?
Well, it's a big misconception, especially in the retail space all year long, that really is, number one, makes you a lot of profit. It's minimal profit, especially with all the markups and returns. And for goodness sake, this year with the supply chain issues that people probably would have had to deal with if they feel like retail. Number two, the nickel and diming that it seems like I think that our clients are subject to, and the relationship negativity that it builds. And number three, just the hassle that I don't want to have to deal with. What people don't realize is if they run their school the right way, they can be massively profitable. Some of the schools that we work with are well over $120,000 a month in gross income, and more than that, more than 50% net profit without massive retail. And so they don't need it. And so why do that? And the summer camps that really are, or summer or fall or spring or Christmas camps, the same
Winter, yeah.
That's even more hassle. I'd rather I think your quote I like to copy is gouge my eyes out with glass than run one of those camps, because it just burns out my staff. I don't want them to have to hassle with those kind of things. Either of those two things are so negative.
To be fair, I stole that from Joe Corley. Joe Corley is the master of dry humor, and his exact line was, "How's it going, Joe?" And he said, "It's kind of like repetitiously slicing my eyeball with a rusty razor." I thought that was a marvelous.
Modify and build on that one. Thanks, Joe. And we appreciate that.
I thought that was a marvelously graphic metaphor. Joe is the master of dry humor. But that and maybe expand on what you said there, Master Moody, is let's say that I did a bang up job and I have the ultimate Black Friday sale. And let's also assume that I'm giving packages with the renewal or with the enrollment, and they have all the required stuff. So everything that I manage to sell is stuff that is not normally required by curriculum. And so I legitimately talk them all into buying Wave Masters and kicking bags and, a few boxing rings and mats for their floors and all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't have sold anyway. And I know this is the best of, the most positive possible view on it. And let's say that I managed to over Black Friday and the weekend sell $15,000 worth of stuff, right? So I sell $15,000 of stuff that I wouldn't have sold them normally otherwise. And I go in and make a big hullabaloo about the sale, and I have a big open house and all kinds of stuff. Well, as I run the numbers, I have the cost of sale, which is in most cases going to be 50%, perhaps plus or minus a couple points on that. So 15,000 becomes 7,500. And then I'm going to have some of that stuff that comes back returned because it was the wrong size or one thing or another. And I'm going to have a mess with that and perhaps eat that. And then I'm going to have all the stuff that I ordered that I eat, because unless I'm doing the catalog sale thing, I order a bunch of inventory that now I sit on that I didn't sell. And then I have to pay for shipping and handling. And by the time I'm done, if I did $15,000 in stuff that I wouldn't have sold them with or without the sale, I have maybe $5,000 left for a big weekend event, which frankly is 1/3 or 1/4 of one renewal, is the way we look at it. So, it sometimes the top line numbers on stuff like that look really good, but if you take out all the stuff that you would have sold them because it's just required as part of the curriculum anyway, and then you factor in the alternative uses of your time, and then you factor in slippage and breakage and shipping and handling and all that stuff, it is not nearly as attractive as it looks. And again, if you want to sell a bunch of stuff, sell a bunch of stuff. I promoted a big national NASCA event for a number of years, and I always joke that other than renewals, the biggest profit center was T-shirts, and I was happy to sell a lot of T-shirts on that day. But it's not the way to make a huge November and December. Let's shift to what really does work. Matt Smith, anything to add to that briefly?
No, I think the only thing that people miss out on is that they have to, make sure that in November and December that the marketing that you do is different than the rest of the year, because it gets watered down.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But anything on the other two things that people do, the retail and or winter camps and so forth.
The only way I would ever do the sales was I did the catalogs and let them
Yeah.
order it directly.
Yeah.
And that, and we gave them a little discount on that, but we didn't have to deal with any of it. And if it didn't fit, they would have to do the return. And so if you're going to do something like that, you can make the same or less headaches, make the same profit or more with less headaches by and Century and the other martial arts companies still do that. Century even this year sent me a big box of a stack of catalogs to hand out to the students. And that's what I would do. I would just pass out the catalog and say, order it, and it had our number on it. So we got credit.
Yeah. But generally that's just, a diversion and is not going to really add much to the bottom line of the school.
That's not how you make
So-
November and December big.
Exactly. Here, let's start with with two things. You were mentioning marketing for a second, and November, December are very fruitful times for marketing. Now, as you said, it's a little different. Every big retailer is spending half their budget for the year, chasing Santa Claus, right? So it's not the best time of the year to be doing direct mail, TV, newspaper, all the normal media stuff, and even online media, Facebook and all those things. Their effectiveness is probably not going to be what it would be in January, February. But one example, we had one of our clients who generated, I'm trying to remember the exact number, but it's plus or minus 850 leads in 2 weekends over the holidays. And that was in a live event promotions, in this case, in movie theaters. And what we know is coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend, probably the biggest movie of the year is Wakanda, the next Black Panther movie. But there's a whole bunch of big releases coming out. And we've done tremendous results with all kinds of live event promotions. We won't spend a lot of time on it right now, but think of one choice is, you have a kiosk on Black Friday weekend in the local shopping mall where you have a package that you're selling in the kiosk, or you have the price wheel and you're doing the normal live event marketing. You might be able to get 200 leads in on Black Friday weekend in the shopping mall. Well, that beats the hell out of sitting around in your school trying to, run a Black Friday sale. And you look at the big movie releases, the ones that happen between, next weekend, which is really when the holiday season kicks off with Wakanda through the new year. But in movie theaters, you have all kinds of big live events. What you also have in elementary schools is many of them have big, and some of these may have passed now, but harvest fairs, carnivals, Halloween events, haunted houses. But then you get into all the holiday events that they have. So many of them have holiday carnivals, something at night where the parents are showing up. They have other holiday events, assemblies, and so forth. There's all kinds of stuff that we've had really great success with doing there. And then we have the other big retail magnets where you can get in and do stuff with. I mean, we've done stuff with everything from charitable fundraiser in front of Walmart, over the holiday season, to being at the local open air shopping facilities. I've done things directly with big electronics retailers, big other retailers. But again, the period from now and certainly from mid-November through Christmas is huge if you have any kind of tie with the retailers. Plus, there's any number of different live events going on. Master, what would you add to that as far as marketing opportunities?
We've built up a good relationship with the mall, so that we've got a lot of, as you said, retail events are really good. So those have been really productive, and you think that those might be super expensive. I think sometimes people have thought that, try to get a traditional kiosk. Well, if you lease a kiosk the whole, Christmas holiday season and try to do that can be pretty pricey. That can be tens of thousands of dollars over the holiday season. So that may not be, and that may honestly not be that productive to be there all day long and have to staff that all day long, and may not be productive. But to do something during their holiday events, so we're frequently there, and in fact we're going there this weekend for a specific event that the mall has, and then we can have a booth and everything. But the key is to do the booth correctly. What we end up seeing is people do, in almost all cases, they do this terribly wrong. And even when they get results, these results tend to be a fraction of what they could get. When people hear us talk about these numbers where, one of our guys gets 100 appointments in a day or over a weekend, or 200 appointments over a weekend, which we have had people repeat regularly
Over and over and over. Yeah.
Yeah. They think we're making these kind of numbers up, but we're not. We have, examples again and again and again, but it's mainly because the way that people are doing these activities are so dramatically incorrect in how they're executing them.
Approaching it.
Yeah. And so it ends up being, somebody for anywhere from one end of the extreme is they set up a table and they're sitting behind a table handing out flyers, which is useless, to doing something that's akin to maybe having people break boards at an event, which also is mediocre and isn't very effective. Probably a lot of people that would be listening to this are thinking, oh yeah, that's what I do, and that's what everybody told me to do, and that works great. Well, it works great compared to sitting behind a desk and handing out flyers. Sure, it works great, but what they could do is so much better, and we've got a lot of strategies that are gonna be more effective. And
or taking 20 kids out there and doing a martial arts demo and entertaining the crowd.
Yeah, and that whole word demo gives me anxiety. People get excited. Oh, somebody asked me to do a demo, and I'm like, oh, we'll go, but what you do there is what's critical, so that you have real good results. And that's night and day difference. And this is what we see over and over again, especially in the marketing realm, is people say, well, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. Well, yeah, but you did it. There were
wrong, did it bad. Yeah.
that were incorrect. And so I understand the discouragement that a lot of school owners have in so many pieces of marketing, or so many strategies and tactics for marketing that are out there. And that's what we're good at is helping you with those.
And
Well,
Master Rudy, I think it might be fair too to say, your percentages, right? So when you say 100 appointments, excuse me, that's that's probably 80% or 90% of those that you came in contact with, right?
Yeah, the appointment rates are very, very high because again, you have to have the right strategy for setting appointments.
I didn't want people to think that, oh, you must have had 1,000 people to come by you in order to achieve those type of numbers, because a lot of people that I speak with, they don't do that. Right. And it's a very important point that everybody on the meeting here gets, that making those appointments and setting them up and following up, making sure they come into the school is very intricate to getting enrollments.
Yeah, yeah. And let's take a little aside here for a second. I'm going to see if I manage to effectively share screen for a change. We shall see. You guys can tell me if this worked. I have a couple things I wanted to share. This is, I was looking for several of these things to share. Hopefully that showed up well. Here's one of our schools from, this was September. I was looking for 3 or 4 of these things to share, but this is one of our.
I just spoke with him yesterday, Master Oliver.
Yep.
And he did 92 in October.
Excellent. So it's, this was 88,708.59 in September, and you said 92,000 and some change in October.
Yep.
And that was with 279 active students, with 98% retention. In other words, losing less than 2% on an average month. I wanted to take an aside on a couple of things like that, because I think a lot of people who are listening to us are going, oh yeah, well, sure, you guys have done this forever and you talk about these kind of results, but like the live event results that we're talking about, this has been sure. We work with schools that are in Manhattan, for instance, and sure, we've had some big results that are in places like that, but it's also been in on the edge of the Appalachians. It's also been in Mankato, Minnesota, wherever the heck Mankato, Minnesota is. So it doesn't have to be in a major metropolitan area to have the kind of results that we're talking about. We have schools that are located all over the damn place, in high income areas and in middle and lower income areas and heavily populated areas and so forth. And as you were saying, Master Moody, we're happy to walk everybody through their specific situation and walk them through specifically what they need help with. Bob Dunn just put phone number on there, and I noticed that several of the people who are with us live here are current members. So welcome, Mark. Welcome, MJ. Good to see you, Jesse, and so forth. Others are new, or perhaps I just don't recognize the name right away. But would be happy to sit and talk to you individually about your individual situation. Our direct number there to Bob is 720-256-0208. Feel free to give him a call and we'll schedule a time to give you some thoughts. But guys, I thought I would shift before we run out of time, because we always do it, into a different thought here for a second. And I'm pulling this up. I'm not sure you guys have seen this. This was just posted in our member group. Well, I guess it's been there for 21 hours. So I am just seeing it here. Did that come through okay? This is Paul Helston.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And by the way, Master Smith, what numbers has Paul been doing recently?
I think Paul is in the 70s now. He hasn't hit our million mark at the 80,000, 84,000. I did just tag you in some of Tim Harrison's numbers on our Facebook group. So if you want to show those, he was showing, and this was earlier in the year, where he had broken over 100,000 in 2022. He was showing his $1 million year from 21. And I think we're projecting that he's going to be doing about 1.3 million this year on that single location.
Well, hopefully hitting his stretch goal, which is 1.5 for the year.
Yeah, but he said disappointedly he wasn't going to didn't look like he was going to be able to make that, but
Well, okay, we still have 2 months, so I'll beat him up about that one.
okay.
But 1.2 isn't too shabby either, considering he was doing 25,000 just a few years ago. But let's talk about what this is. This is, if you can see here, this is a checklist of some action steps, a banner, some decorations here tied to this thing. But what I have found to be the way that I absolutely make December my #1 cash month of the year. And Master Smith, I started Mile High Karate in 1983, so pretty much every year since 1983, all of my schools, or most of my schools, had their #1 cash month of the year was December, and their #2 cash month of the year was November. And oftentimes, November, December was more cash in the bank, and I'm talking about checks deposited, credit cards cleared, than any previous 6 months. So not only was it not a slow month, but it was a busy month. And it was a busy month for all the marketing type of things we barely scratched the surface on. Matt Smith, you'd wanted to talk about internal marketing over the holidays and a bunch of stuff that we can do on that. But let's now we have bedroom clutter in the background. So which looks like most people's effort to clean out the basement and move from floor to floor. But let's talk about what I was sharing here of Paul's here a minute ago is what we're doing with our members, which is likely to be a 50% bump at least from what their normal cash revenue is, and perhaps even a doubling of what their normal cash revenue is. So a school that we showed a minute ago that did, what would you say, 92,000 last month, Master Smith, or 88,000 the month before, they may in fact do double that in November, and then bump it up from there in December. And what we're talking about is what I came to refer to as a renewal blitz. And now we lost him. But what I came to refer to as a renewal blitz, and what I would always know is that one of our best enrollment periods of the month was August, September, October, first half November. And what that would mean is we would have just a ton of new students who are into the school that are all primed for renewing into our black belt program, primed for renewing into our leadership program. And typically we would have a ton of students who are primed to renew to 2nd or 3rd or 4th degree black belt as well. And what I found out many years ago is, far from what most people think is that they're spending all their money on Christmas presents, is they actually end up in a shopping and spending spree in November, December, where they get conservative, maybe is in the first quarter of the year when the bills start coming in. Of course, then we have tax returns and so forth as well. But what I've always found is it's the easiest time of the year to get people to pay in full, and it's the easiest time of the year to really focus on black belt goal setting, and to get especially new students, white belts and perhaps gold belts, to make the commitment to train to black belt and beyond. I see you're back, Master Smith. Pick up from there, Master Smith.
Well, I think what everybody misses out on is, our schools are real good at keeping the foot on the pedal on renewals during the year. But what we always found is there was always people slipping through the crack. And that's why we started November, December as what we call our renewal blitz. Which for the students, though, we say that it's black belt goal setting season. Mm-hmm. So the idea is to get all those students that have been dragging their feet, or the ones that enrolled in the last few months, because as you know, one of our biggest enrollment months tends to be September and even October, because we have a lot of back to school people that we do school programs and different things. But we have a lot of people that are kind of that bottleneck up that we need to get renewed. So we utilize that November and December as that black belt goal setting season. and make sure that they get committed to that. You know, the biggest mistake school owners make is thinking that the students won't sign up for a 4 or 6 year program. Well, if that's your program, if that's your black belt is 4 years, and our leadership, which we call our second degree, that's a 6 year. You know, we get them committed to continuing that, you know, goal setting idea, not just letting them sign up for year to year, but starting
Or month to month or quarter to quarter, for God's sake.
yeah, and that's the biggest mistake people make, is that they think that people just want to do karate for a year. Whereas when somebody goes to college, they don't go to college just to be a freshman. They go to get a degree. And if they get committed to that degree, that's what we've got to get our students to do. And we do that by teaching them how to set goals and stick with it. And that has to be emphasized in the classrooms. And if you've been doing what we call selling from the floor, making sure that you're talking about the importance of black belt and the benefits of a black belt. And if you want to be a black belt, train like a black belt, and a black belt is a white belt who never quits, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how Sebastian was able to grow so quickly to that 88 and now 92 with a 2% dropout rate. And I tell you, I'm sure that 90% of the schools that are listening today would, if they check their dropout rate, I don't think any of those are going to have a 2% dropout. You know,
Well, and what we're always targeting is 1 to 2%. I've seen schools less than 1%. And by the way, we're referring to on a monthly basis. So 300 students losing 3 students on an average month to maybe 6 students on average month. And what most people do is they get to, you know, take that same number, they get to 300 students, and then they need 30 students a month to stay even, or maybe they need 20 or 25. And you end up feeling like a hamster on the wheel. But let's stay on our renewal blitz here. And I just went through our members only group a little bit, and I was sharing some of the things that have been shared by us and by our members. This photo is so old. I put on here that it was early 90s, but it was probably actually 87, 88, to give you an idea of this time period. And you can see goal setting sheets here hanging from the ceilings, various other decorations. You see the mirrors are painted. You see Santa Claus wearing a black belt. Back then we did red tops for those people. This is Louise Hellier and this is my first school. By then I had 6 locations, but this is my first school that was in Lakewood. And you could see the people who are renewed to Black Belt and Beyond were wearing a red top, and the people who are renewed to the second degree in leadership were in black. And then the students who were not renewed yet were in white. And this was a picture from a renewal blitz back then, is how far back it goes. And to share with you some of these other, here is, well, this is Tim Harrison's school. And this is a year or 2 ago, but this is November is Black Belt month. You see the sheets here with the goal setting, with the kids fill these out as a goal setting sheet here. And there's just a ton of ideas in here of things that they've implemented. This is a little package that we have them deliver to the students as they get recommended. A variety of other concept. Well, there's a broader picture of the school getting decorated for Black Belt goal setting month. Hopefully that picture's still coming through okay.
Yep.
But you get the idea. This is just one of the locations. That's what did you say they did last month, Master Smith?
They did 90 something, I think 96 last month, but they've averaged about 100 this year. Their high month was 126 this year.
Yeah. And are clearly on track to do 1.3, and I'm hoping to get them on track for 1.5. So we shall see which number we end up hitting here. But to give you the idea is what we create is November and December is all about setting goals, walking through and everything from taking pictures with the kids with their black belts on, with a black belt as a goal setting tool, letting them take it home, put the picture up on the wall, goal setting sheets and so forth. Master Moody, what would you add to that?
Well, I think let's as you talk about the decorations, I think your statement about it is really good. Make sure that it's decorated enough till it's gaudy, and
Yeah.
then double it. That's a really good frame of reference. And then what we do is make sure that as you do things like this, every week there's something new to introduce. So one way we do it to make it easy is every week there's something new we do with the students. 1 week we'll make sure that everybody gets their pictures with their black belt. The next week it might be something like we sign their other belt. They'll grab the belt and then they'll bring it to me to have me sign it. So they get a signature with Chief Master Moody. Then the next week might be a photo. The photo gets sent to them by email and texted to them. 1 week might be it gets texted to them. The third week we send them Thanksgiving cards in the mail, along with a whole bunch of other mail that's going to them along the way. So every week there's something additional that's layered on top of this that also gives us something to talk to them about. And all this stuff is really just to facilitate having real conversations with them, as Grandmaster Smith said, about this being black belt goal setting season. So the conversation is what's most important about their current state in the school and what their future is going to be. Because if they're, let's say, a whatever belt, yellow belt, let's say, what's your plan? We're going to talk to them about setting their goal for first degree and second degree, and everybody sets their goal at least to second degree. But if they're a first degree, then their goal would be to second degree and third degree. Maybe they're a third degree. Then we talk to them about their goal being second, third degree, or fourth degree and fifth degree, and so on. So everybody, including me, I have a poster up on the wall about what my goals are next, becoming a ninth degree black belt, and so on. So everybody has a goal, and then therefore all the what program they should be on next, whether they should renew, or whether they might need to pay in full, or what a better deal would be, or join whichever program should be on, is a natural offshoot of what you've talked about.
Yeah. And here's another example. This is from it was like 2 years ago, Stephen D. Castillo. And Stephen's quite a success story too, Master Moody, Master Smith. He's gone from if I remember the numbers correctly, I think I've got them down pat, is he was in the high 20s, flirting with 30,000 a month before COVID. And that's before he was starting to work with us. And then he got a little desperate during the COVID shutdowns and dropped to 17,000 a month. And right now he's regularly in between 65 and 80,000 a month. Very quickly, he went from 17,000 back to where he was. I think that was with 90 days. That's always been basically our promise, is wherever somebody's record was before, we'll have them back there in 90 days. And then from there, he grew into the 60s and the 70s and flirting with the 80s. But this was a little breakdown of the different pieces that they were doing on the renewal blitz, of all the pieces that we had walked them through. I think this is one of my checklists. If I take a look here, I don't think it showed up on that screen, so I'll have to share that separately. But it's just a dramatic result that you can have on something like this. And here, I'll share this checklist too. This was one of the checklists that I make available to our members. This is kind of the decorating checklist. You were talking about the obnoxious, and frankly, what we always did was we promoted it heavy now through Thanksgiving. Over the Thanksgiving weekend, we removed everything and then started fresh, and then had it all have a completely different look when they came back in from Thanksgiving. And did goal setting sheets, obviously staying on top of the numbers, staying on top of the results. But again,
And all that information that you were showing there, Master Oliver, is in our member site for our members to access. And all they have to do is go in there and do a search function. And we have our Facebook page where people ask questions about how to do it. So there's so much opportunity for them to do research and find stuff. Then we have our live meetings where we're asking questions and sharing idea. When you were flashing through those other things, one of the things that you hit upon, but you didn't touch much on, that we found when we started that years ago, was the popcorn bucket. And people say, what the hell is a popcorn bucket? Well, it was a little popcorn bucket that we got at Dollar Store, and it's a pretty good size. And then we put the microwavable popcorn in there, and we would put a couple little gifts in there for the students. We'd usually put one of our T-shirts, Black Belt Leadership or our school T-shirts. There was a wrist band in there, those rubber wrist bracelets that the students like to wear. And it had Black Belt on it with a little kicker. And then it said class of, and then it had their year. And we would print those up. And then when they handed in their vision sheet, we would give them that wristband for the year that they said their goal was. So they had that constant reminder to wear around. And that popcorn bucket, the reason we started the idea of the popcorn bucket was actually because of your renewal DVD that you put together for your Mile High schools that outlined everything, what Black Belt training was all about. It had also testimonials from the parents, not written testimonials, but I'm talking the parents actually
video, yeah.
they're talking about it and sometimes crying because you recorded some of those at your Black Belt test, and you did a little testimonial from the parents on the kids who had just gotten their Black Belt, and they were so excited about the progress and the change in the child, and those kind of things become invaluable. And a lot of our members have put together their own video based on your video. So most of them said they didn't know how to put that kind of thing together. And we said, just use your cell phone. Nowadays that camera is such a good quality. It's easy to put together something like that. But
we could show them an excerpt from that for a second. But yeah, with the structure is the secret, and that's something we walk people through. But here's I don't know if can you hear the audio on that?
We can. It's weak.
Yeah. But you get the idea. It's chock full of testimonials.
A quadriplegic at that point, and she's made a lot of progress, and now she is partially paralyzed from the waist down. And so the physical therapist took a look at her special needs and said ballet, karate. And Jenna said,
But you get the idea there. We don't need to listen to me talk on video, but yeah, it's basically an infomercial for the renewal.
I mean, it's nothing like you would have to sit down with a parent for 2 hours to be able to get all that information across to them, and now they can take it home on a 1 hour or a 90-minute video. They can see the whole thing.
Yeah, well, you can next now you can text them a link from Vimeo or YouTube for that. But the let's shift to the other piece of this thing is that the goal setting on this is if you have 100 students in the school that aren't renewed, is we'll target getting 75 to 80% of them renewed, right? So if I had 100 people who aren't on whatever my highest level program is, I'm going to be able to in November, December get maybe worst case 60%, but realistically 75 or 80%. In this case, using this example, 100 people, 75 or 80 people. Well, that adds up in a hurry anyway. Is just that many renewals, and we'll usually have it be where their monthly tuition, if they're paying monthly, is bumping by a couple $100. So if I did 75 renewals at a $200 a month bump in tuition, I take whatever my current monthly billing is, and I just added quickly, what is that, Bob? $15,000 a month to the billing from the renewals. The second thing we'll do on those is typically they're going to pay $750 or $1,000 initially as an initial down payment on the deal. We don't use that term, but as an initial down payment. 75 people times $1,000, $75,000 cash. If it's a little less than that, you can extrapolate, but let's say 50,000 cash just from that. The other thing is, and you mentioned it, I think Master Moody, you mentioned it, is, or Master Smith was talking about this, is they're going to do the renewal to black belt or beyond, right? So we're going to typically do to train to black belt and beyond is the language, but the probably second degree black belt. But I've had a ton of times when I've been in my own schools doing this personally, where people have written me a check for $27,000, $35,000, $37,000, $42,000. Obviously, the bigger numbers are for families, and or split it up with 1, 2, 3, 4 credit cards. And so the holiday season is a perfect time that people are excited about paying in full for these things as well. And you can see how it can start adding up. Of course, if you only have 50 students and 40 of them are renewed, you don't have that kind of opportunity. But if you have 100 students who've never done a renewal program, or if you have a big school, but you still have 100 people who aren't on your highest level program, whether that's the second or third degree, or whether that's people who just need to train to black belt, it makes a huge difference. What would you add to that?
One of the things that that really opened our members' eyes was when, and I think it was about, it might have been right before COVID, that Christmas before COVID, that Colby Winkler ended up with 54. That was his first renewal blitz, and he didn't know how to do one. And we said, and he just followed your format there. He looked at the video and he saw your script there, that how to decorate, and he did all that, ended up with 54 renewals that month, and almost 200,000 cash, and wrote $1 million. It was actually just over $1 million worth of business in 1 month.
Yeah.
Because his contracts were worth over 20,000 a piece. And it was all done just because of one of your live events that we told him to do with the spin wheel at a marathon.
Well, that's where the
54 came on. As I said, September, October are big months for enrollments, and he just renewed. He said mainly 50% of those were from just that one event, and the others were from the other students that hadn't done it.
Yeah, well, and the rest of that story, you're talking Colby, who's in Mankato, Minnesota. I pull the name of his town up a lot just as a counterpoint to
it's
being
outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, about an hour, I think.
Yeah, well, it's out in the sticks, so it's not a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
It's over now.
Yeah, but I pull it up because it's such a good example of rural, relatively low income, just a non-urban environment where still both the renewal blitz and the live event marketing both worked great. And of course, we have a lot of other marketing schemes, ideas, and structures. He's doing great with what we're doing with Facebook, by the way, too. But you reminded me of Colby's story. Was this time of year, I don't know if it's been 4 or 5 years ago now, is he showed up to one of these webinars we did with exactly the same topic: how to make November, December your best months of the year. And he listened intently to what it was. And of course, we don't have time to go into all the details. I'm showing people some of the things that are available for our members. But all he did was show up on the webinar, and he did an extra $40,000 more than he had ever done before in December. And he said, holy crap, if I'm done that much, I probably should be working with these guys. And he actually waited until he had done the renewal blitz and then joined up with us right after that. But he just followed the steps on what we're doing and then got started with us. And almost 18 months later, he was at double what his previous gross was with no additional expenses. So his net was way, 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 way up. And he hasn't ever looked back. I mean, he's another one of our $1 million track people. I was going to show this, Bob. I never actually got logged in here. I think my computer didn't cook yet when I changed computers. But this is some of the other stuff that we have available for our members on this renewal blitz. It's literally endless. But this was from we have several of our live meetings, just like we're doing in Breckenridge next weekend. And by the way, anybody who still wanted to try to make it in an RSVP for that, we're going to be not this weekend, but the following weekend. What is it? The 11th, 12th, 13th, or something like that.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be doing a member meeting tied into a black belt retreat in Breckenridge, Colorado. But what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be spending a day on renewal blitz and how for everybody to have an extra 100,000 cash over and above what they would normally do. And then we're focusing extensively on teaching, high-level teaching training, how to get the dropout rate down below 2%, preferably 1% a month.
And how to sell from the floor. That's what most of our schools, not in our group, but most of the schools that join us, they don't know how to sell from the floor. They think all the selling on the enrollments and renewals is all done in the office. But, 90% of it is done in the classroom. And how do you sell from the floor without sounding like you're trying to, take somebody's money? It's a matter of showing them the benefits of the program and the life skills that getting to black belt and beyond, and all of the vision sheets and testimonials and stuff that we have that prove our point. And the strong thing about our schools and the renewals is that if you've been doing that all year, and if you're doing that from day one when they come in with the character worksheets and the life skills, then you've shown to the parents that your program works. And you can fool some students to sign up after a lesson or two for a year, but you can't fool somebody to sign up for 4 or 6 years unless you've proved to them that it works. And that's why it's so critical in that first 30 to 90 days to really get them engaged in that black belt belief system and that goal setting.
Yeah, and maybe the definition of leadership ultimately is about persuasion, and it's about you don't want to have students who are come back and train on Thursday because they trained today, but they really don't have a vision of what it is they want to accomplish and where they want to go. And if I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school and I'm doing a 9-year black belt, or if I am a Krav school, maybe I don't have a comparable ranking system. It's still about goal setting. It's I am going to go to elementary school, so I get to middle school, so I get to high school, so that I get onto the college that I want to be accepted to. And I'm going to college for the career I want to be accepted to. And your students trained in martial arts should be exactly the same thing. It should be always focused on short-term, intermediate, and long-term goals. And our mission here is to get them committed to train to whatever your equivalent is of black belt and beyond. And guys, we're going to run out of time here. We planned on this being about 45 minutes, but let's just briefly touch on the last thing there. I mentioned it briefly, but it's a perfect time. And again, nothing that we teach is about chasing cash, and nothing that we teach is about cashing out everybody in the school. What we want to do is we want to build the billing up so it covers all of your rent, your utilities, your salaries, your income, that it covers everything, that you have a real solid base there. But it's also this time of year is, and again, depending upon what kind of year, 2 years you've had, if if you got hit in COVID and we weren't working with you and your numbers were down, a lot of our guys were up 5, 10, 20. We even had schools that were up 35, 40% in 2020, which was the primary year of the shutdowns. But if you've had a rough year, it's a perfect time to zero out all your debt. So it's a perfect time to create some extra cash, to put some cushion in the bank, to zero out the credit cards, negotiate with the landlord, get a deal done on that, whatever else, if you owe the tax guys money or whatever, it's a perfect time to take care of that. If you've had a great year so far, it's a perfect time to build the investments at in a wholesale market, and it's a great time to build up your marketing budget for January. And my target was always, let's generate a ton of lead flow in November, December, but let's also add 100 new students to the school in January and February, because that's a prime time. And a lot of those leads that you're going to generate in December, for instance, are going to push you off a little bit. So you can get them enrolled in December, even if you don't, or in January, even if you don't get them enrolled in December. But the other element is it's nice to go into the holidays with an extra 100, 150, 200, 250,000 cash over and above what you would normally bring in. And either for investments, to do big bonuses for your staff, send some of them on trips. I've done, that's not a Rolex, but I've done Rolex bonuses, it's a Panerai, but I've done, Matt Smith, I guess our Panerais would be considered Rolexes. I think it's got a Rolex movement in it. So it's a Rolex, a Panerai case on a Rolex or vice versa. But it's a marvelous time to bonus people with a new Apple Mac Pro, with a Rolex, to bonus them with a, trip to the Caribbean for 10 days, or a big stack of cash. It's a marvelous time to bonus yourself with that. But it's also a good time to stack up a big marketing budget so you can kick off February and January strong and add 100 new students to the new year. And we're going to have to wrap up here. Bob, what might you add to everything?
Well, bear with me 1 second. Seeing who's on here, I mean, obviously, I wanted to mention you had offered 50% off also on our Complete for Your School program. And in that program, there's a lot to do with the live events. Master Smith spends almost 4 hours on a lot of low cost, no cost marketing. It is good, went out to a lot of our members, but more importantly, what I'd love to do is just set up a time just to chat. So give me a call. My number is 720-256-0208. And we can, see how we might be able to help you out and help you grow the school.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that Bob does is when you talk to him, he finds out particularly what your needs and concerns are at your school, so he can show you and let you know how we can help you, and then set up a call with me and Master Oliver or Master Moody, and then work out a game plan for you to see if we can get you on the right track here and eventually maybe become a member.
Yeah.
And I would say to everybody, sometimes you finish these kind of meetings, or if you're watching it by recording, and you put it to the side, and then you start getting distracted on all the other stuff that's going on right now. And that's what you just can't do. You got to make the call right now, and you got to take some action right now. That's why Colby made the extra 40,000 that month. But the best thing to do is to give Bob a call so that we can help you get really focused on the next step. So instead of making an extra 40,000, you make a lot more. But the last thing you want to do is go, hey, that was really good information. Maybe I'll do something on that one day.
Yeah. And Bob,
I still remember that live meeting, Master Oliver, when one of our members who had a good year with us was saying that he had doubled or tripled his gross that year, but he was pissed off because he just realized that he had just cost himself $300,000 because he took an extra year or two before he had actually been on one of your webinars or something, but then took a year or and a half to actually get signed up.
Yeah, we have endless stories like that of people who wait around and think about it and lost out. The one you're thinking about is Sean Harvey, and his goal was to have he's in Bermuda, and his goal was to have a condo and a Lamborghini in Florida, because he wanted a Lamborghini, but what the hell are you going to do with a Lamborghini in Bermuda? And so his calculations were, we've got it on video somewhere, is he basically stood up in the middle of the meeting and after, working on the calendar, and slapped himself in the head without letting anybody know what was going on. And he figured out he had cost himself the Lamborghini by waiting around, because the first year he had worked with us, his net was up 300,000. But he had procrastinated for a year before he did that. Bob, what you were alluding to is, schools that are on the meeting or who see the recording, if you're at 100 students, you should be grossing about $20,000 a month. But if you're grossing less than 10 and have 40, 50 students or something like that, the best way to get started with us is to call Bob and get that Complete Fill Your School program, because what it's designed to do is show you how to add 100 students in an affordable way with the budget that you can put into it right now. And adding 100 students following our format, you'll add $20,000 a month to your revenue. Any of the schools that are over 10,000, and certainly if you're in the 20, 25, 30, $40,000 range, is what we're really good at is taking a $30,000 school, making them a $60,000 school in a year, and having the extra 25 or 30,000 all be net profit. So I would say that if you wanted to boil it down into a nutshell, what our specialty is it's taking a school that's 100 students and a couple, 20,000 a month, and getting the net to be higher than what the current gross is, and doing it in 6 to 12 months. But give Bob a call either way. If you're a smaller school, he'll help you get in that Fill Your School program and show you how to add 100 students and add 20,000 a month. And if you have some momentum going, we'll set a time to talk and show you how to turn your gross revenue into your net profit, and then grow net from there. On that note, guys, we'll call it a day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.